Welcome to Fresh Talk News Channel. Today, we dive into the latest updates on the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. In a significant development, Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed, for the first time, to a limited ceasefire that would halt strikes on energy infrastructure, but only if Ukraine does the same. This announcement came after a 2.5-hour phone call between President Putin and former U.S. President Donald Trump. However, the Russian leader declined to agree to a broader 30-day ceasefire proposed by U.S. and Ukrainian officials, meaning attacks on Ukrainian civilians, cities, and ports will continue as both sides fight for territorial gains and leverage in negotiations. The Kremlin stated that this limited ceasefire could mark the first mutually agreed suspension of attacks in the three-year war. The White House characterized it as a step toward broader peace, though some officials privately expressed concerns that Putin might be stalling, agreeing to just enough to appear engaged in peace talks while maintaining his battlefield advantage. A ceasefire on energy targets would benefit both sides. Ukraine has long struggled with Russian attacks on its energy grid, while Russia has faced extensive Ukrainian strikes on its oil and gas facilities, which are critical to its state revenue. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed openness to a truce on energy infrastructure strikes but emphasized that Ukraine would not remain silent if Russia continued its attacks. "We will respond," he told Ukrainian public broadcaster Suspiln. Despite this progress, Zelensky accused Putin of effectively rejecting a full ceasefire, citing continued Russian attacks, including a drone strike on a hospital in Sumy. The Kremlin, meanwhile, insisted that lasting peace depends on ending all foreign military and intelligence assistance to Ukraine, a demand that would require the U.S. and its allies to halt their support, which they have provided for 3 years. The phone call between Trump and Putin fell short of expectations, with no agreement on a broader ceasefire or a meeting between the two leaders. However, there were gestures of goodwill, including Russia's agreement to release 23 seriously wounded Ukrainian soldiers and conduct a prisoner exchange later this month. The negotiations followed a public rift between Trump and Zelensky, which had temporarily suspended U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Although aid was restored after a meeting in Saudi Arabia, the Trump administration avoided discussing details of potential land concessions or other sensitive issues, possibly to maintain flexibility in negotiations or avoid further confrontation with Zelensky. Ukrainian officials have drawn clear red lines. Kyiv will not accept Russian sovereignty over occupied territories, agree to neutral status, or reduce its armed forces. They also demand security guarantees as part of any settlement. Meanwhile, France and Britain have offered to send troops to Ukraine as part of a peacekeeping force, but the Kremlin has rejected the idea. Beyond Ukraine, Trump and Putin discussed broader issues, including potential cooperation in the Middle East and the need to stop the proliferation of strategic weapons. However, negotiations on a replacement for the expiring U.S.-Russia nuclear arms treaty have yet to begin. For Trump, a Ukraine ceasefire is a step toward normalizing relations with Russia, even as most NATO allies continue to support sanctions and military aid for Ukraine. Ukrainian officials, however, accuse Putin of playing for time to maintain leverage and continue attacks on Ukrainian cities. The White House also mentioned that Trump and Putin agreed to begin technical negotiations over a broader maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea and a full ceasefire and permanent peace, with talks set to begin in the Middle East. Thanks for watching Fresh Talk News Channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this developing story and other global news. Stay informed with us.